All right, we are live. Welcome to a very special episode of Court Time with Crina Mustafa. I'm Crina Mustafa, and I'm joined by Dani Bar-Lavi, Chicago Sky writer for Winsidr, on a very special WNBA free agency live special. First time we've ever gone live. This day, Dani, has
Oh my
already been
God.
nuts. I feel like my phone is about to light on fire with all the Twitter notifications. But yeah, how are
It
you
feels
feeling?
it's so funny because it wasn't that long ago when like February 1st or whatever the day was that year for WNBA free agency would roll around and it would be like extremely underwhelming. Like as recently as like the 2021 off season, I feel like it was pretty like, there'd be one or two exciting stories and then like you could kind of just like chill because it was mostly just gonna be like re-signings that we felt were coming from a mile away. Um, and yeah, I mean, this has been last year was also pretty like insane, and even 2021. We had Candace going to the sky in the first place, but like this year, it's felt really like a major league American sports free agency first day, where it's like there's something going off every 40 minutes at most. You can't really put down your phone. You can't really like take a shower. I was talking before we went on about how I was in the shower when the Stewie news was dropped on the Empire State Building. Um, but yeah, I mean, like the scale of it's very big. It's very theatrical. Like it's nerve wracking as someone working in the industry for sure, and very like you have to be on, but also so exciting, so fun.
Yeah,
Like, and the
absolutely.
speculation mill is just like going on Twitter, and I love that.
I know. I like my heart rate has not been at a normal beating like this entire day, especially as soon as the
Yeah.
Stewie came out. And I told you like before we went live, but I was debating. I was at the studio at work. I was debating going home earlier, and if I did, it would have dropped while I was on my way home. So it's a good thing I stayed because all my coworkers got to see my big reaction to Stewie signing. I literally just opened my phone. First tweet was Stewie's tweet. And also, I think it's super cool that the players themselves are just kind of announcing where they're going. I feel like we don't really get that in the NBA, for example. Like, I feel like
No, yeah.
usually it's just like the same two newsbreakers, just like reporting it for every player. So it's nice to see that Stewie's doing this like dramatic, like taking off the jersey and you see her in the Liberty shirt kind of thing. But yeah, so
Yeah.
I really like that a
Like
lot.
again, very theatrical. Like I loved, given the way this was announced, it does feel like probably Stewie has known that she was going to New York for at least a week, if not longer. Just it takes some time and some doing to get your name on the Empire State Building and lights. Um, but yeah, I love that. I love that. I mean, like it's very big. It's what this league needs right now. It feels very like storyline grabbing, headline generating in a way that I think is very positive. And Stewie, for like she's so aware of that. This decision of hers to go make what is being called a super team in New York, and the fact that it is in that market. And she talked about this on Sports Center a bit. She's just very conscious of the way that her career moves are shaping the narrative of the entire league and shaping the growth of the entire league. And it's really cool to see her kind of weaponize her status in a way that grows the entire sport.
Yeah, and you saw that with like the chartered flights conversation as well. Like
Mm-hmm.
she's very, very conscious of the fact of what it means to go to New York specifically as well, and
Yeah.
what that means for that conversation moving forward. And even just like the energy and the hype around her too. Like you have Kevin Durant just like publicly like begging Stewie to come join New York, which I
Yeah.
think is awesome. And then also like other teams too, like, and we'll get to this later, but like also Candace Parker with the Aces. I feel like that
Yeah.
attracts a lot of the same attention too. So yeah, it's been
Yeah.
very, very awesome to see it. But let's talk about, the implications of Brianna Stewart being in New York and this super team that you kind of mentioned, because you now have Jonquel Jones added to that team as
Yeah.
well. And so you have Sabrina, you have Stewie, Jonquel. Who else do you have? You have
You got Benasha.
Benija. Yeah, like
Yeah.
also, I mean, for now, until I know
Yeah.
you said you were gonna bring up other rumors on this show.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, like, if for me, like, I think there's a lot of trade buzz around Naj right now because it is situation where she was still fairly recently a first or second option in this league. She's still extremely capable of being a first or second option in this league. But also, I can very easily see her saying, look, like, it's okay to be the fourth option behind these players. Some people might disagree with me about her being behind Sabrina, but that's, that is what it is. But it's okay, to take a smaller role to win a championship with a player of the caliber of Stewie, of the caliber of Jonquel. Like, there's value to that, and I can see that playing out that way as well.
Yeah, and I think depth is going to be really important for this Liberty team because honestly,
absolutely,
we've seen their potential like starting to develop in the last like season or so. But the problem is like when injuries hit or things like other things are happening, and if you don't have anybody to kind of back up that team when you are down players, and that's not going to help you at all. So we may have all these super teams, but I think it's going to be the super teams that also have depth behind them that are going to be able to eventually succeed.
Absolutely. And I mean, that's where you look at the Liberty, like bringing back their international players, which obviously is going to get even more difficult with prioritization coming in. But this is a team with really amazing depth, honestly. Like, you have players like Marine, like Han emerging kind of out of, they were already on the radar of real like WNBA Twitter heads, but for a more casual watcher, seemingly like emerging out of the woodwork.
Yeah, because it's been a while since 2019, really, since we saw them.
But yeah, I mean, thinking about the implications more league-wide, you have to wonder if you're a more middle-of-the-pack team right now, seeing all this talent build at the top of the league with the Aces, with the Liberty, these super teams emerging, how do you zag, kind of? If you're a team like Chicago or Connecticut or Seattle that is kind of struggling to push still into contention after these losses, how do you react?
Owen.
Everyone's coming to New York. That's what we're saying.
Listen, if Stan Wawrinka makes it to the Liberty, like that's it. No one can beat them. Come on.
No, that is an unbeatable super team at that point.
It's the super team of the super teams. That's funny. That made me laugh. Also, that's funny that like to me, it's also just like Owen's comment is making me think of intersports and relations where a lot of like NBA fans are starting to get into the W as well, because they're like, we need Stewie on our team, like we needed her, like Chelsea Gray, we need her to lead our team. And so I think like this free agency, I just feel like a shift in the W atmosphere, and it's nice with all these big news. But I know a lot of people are like placing the Liberty and the Aces to be in the finals already. I think obviously it's possible, but I'm still like, season hasn't even started yet. Like, it's fun to like think about, but as as somebody who's followed the Liberty for a while now, I'm like, still temper your expectations.
Yeah, no, of course. I mean, like has to be said whenever there's this like super league conversation happening in any league. Like, shit happens. I had Sky Aces as like locks for the finals 2 years in a row, the last 2 years, and I was half right both times. You get teams playing spoiler. You get teams that are underappreciated because their talent is there, but their names aren't there. I feel like that was kind of a thing with Connecticut the last couple of years, where they've been a super team, arguably. Yeah. But, yeah, I mean, it's not a lock. I would place them. Yeah, I agree with Miles, though. I want to see the Liberty and Aces in the finals this year. It's the most fun outcome to me.
Yeah.
And I do think that they are in a category all on their own right now. I mean, we'll see how the rest of free agency plays out. There could be some shock moves that puts a team like the Mystics into the conversation. I mean, like, they're definitely not out of title contention, a team like that. Any team with Elena Delle Donne is not out of title contention.
Yeah, and I think the Mystics have still they just added Brittany Sykes too, which I think is huge for them.
Yeah, I mean, like, you have moves like that aren't quite as like culturally and like socially devastating in terms of the impact of how people react to them. But your boy is dead on right there. Your boy is dead on. I just gotta interrupt myself to say your boy is dead on. But yeah, I mean, I literally lost my train of thought because I was so taken with the Marie Johannes thought. But
Thanks, Mark.
yeah, thanks, Mark, for derailing. But yeah, I want to see that finals. I think everybody who loves basketball should want to see that finals.
Yeah.
And on a day like today, yeah, it's okay to say that they're locks for the finals. Obviously, reality happens, injuries happen. Sometimes pieces don't fit, but this is exciting. This is an exciting day for our league. Let's all relish that.
It is very exciting. And I remember last season when the Liberty started off the year, I think they beat the Connecticut Sun in the first game. And I was like, I feel my cockiness coming back. Because the year before that, they had, like, when they went on their like 3-0 start, or like they started really well the season and then kind of fell apart afterwards. But I was like, I remember being cocky then. I remember being cocky at the beginning of last season. And I'm like trying to tamper my cockiness now because I feel like it hasn't always worked out for me. But if there's any time to be excited,
this is a day for New York Liberty fans to absolutely talk their shit 100%. But yeah, I mean, like, this is the best team probably that this franchise has ever had. At least it's the best team that they've had since like the inception of the league. Yeah, like, talk your shit, get excited. Same with Aces fans. You just won a title and then you added Candace Parker. Talk your shit.
Yeah, and then kind of my last question for the Liberty right now is, what do you think they should be doing with that point guard spot? Because honestly, like, I know you and I have talked about, is Sloot going to land there? And then kind of the Sloot fake news came out that she was in Seattle, but she actually hasn't decided yet. So in the case that they don't end up landing Sloot, like, should they be looking for the point guard? Because I feel like we saw Sabrina really thrive as in the 2 spot last year. In the 2
position, yeah. No, I absolutely think that if this is going to work, they need someone that's going to tie it all together. I think, we'll see a lot of time on ball for Jonquil, for Sui, for Sabrina. So, like, you don't need a point guard or like a ball dominant point guard of Sloot's caliber. I'm going to kind of borrow from Miles's brain, given that he's the expert on the Liberty. He brought up Jordan Canada as a potential point guard for the Liberty. And I really like the idea of, someone that can play, 5th option on a championship offense, that someone that doesn't want to be the featured player in an offensive scheme, but someone that brings a lot on the other end. Because guarding the point of attack is going to be extremely important.
What is happening in the comments?
I have no idea. I'm so curious.
This is a family show, guys. Come on.
Am I cursing?
I don't know. I didn't catch it if you did.
I have definitely cursed since we went live, but
that's fine.
Anyway.
That's fine. You're good. Don't worry about it. But yes, you were saying about Jordan Canada.
But yeah, no, I definitely think someone like that who's going to come in and play like a pretty specialized defensive role makes sense. This is not a team that needs firepower at this point.
Yeah. Oh, God. Here we go. And Mark says, if you know, you know. I don't know. What am I missing? I'm not in the other group chat.
I can't say it on the stream.
Okay. All right. Well, let's move on to Sky, because
absolutely.
As our good friend B. Terrell posted a very funny but bittersweet but sad meme of Kalia Copper on Will Smith's face in the Fresh Prince meme where he's standing alone in the room. Yeah. She's kind of being left out to dry here. I mean, Candace is gone. Really... Sloot is gone. Like, they're kind of just, oh no, what's going on? So
it is really sad to think about it. Obviously professional sports are a business. You go where you want to go. It's not all about the personal relationships, but yeah, it's as someone who's been following the Sky as a fan since like 2017, I would say it's weird seeing all of these players gone now. Like obviously Steph has been gone, Gabby has been gone, Diamond has been gone, but like Sloot's been like the face of this team for as long as I've been even remotely aware of goings on in the WNBA.
I want to say
Longer
like
than that.
13 years, maybe?
Yeah,
I can't
pretty
remember
much. I
the
mean, like
numbers.
obviously Deldon was the face of the team when she was there, but yeah, it's a weird adjustment to make culturally. I'm sure even weirder within the actual team for Ka and for like James Wade and everyone else involved. But yeah, I mean, like the feeling from other Chicago Sky people on Twitter is just like, what is this team now? Like, who is this team now? And the answer is Ka. The answer is just this team is now Kalia Copper, and she is the face of this team. She is this franchise. She is our hopes. She is our dreams, as she always has been. And it's easy to look at this Sky situation and be like, this is really bleak. Like Candace is gone, Sloot is gone, Emma is probably not playing in the WNBA this year, and say like, what do they do now? But the answer is just rebuild around Kalia Copper. You have a Finals MVP. You have an extremely big personality to market. Like that's not a bad position to be in. And she's a player that people are going to want to come play with, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And then if you kind of look at the other players too, because Allie Quigley is someone who we're kind of unsure about just based on because we don't know where Courtney Vandersloot is headed. And I don't think there's been any rumblings or rumors about what Allie's going to do either. I know some people have maybe hinted at possible retirement, but what are your thoughts on that?
I think the two there's a 0% chance that we see Allie Quigley on a team that is not the team that Courtney Vandersloot is on, in my opinion. Whether that means that she'll like sign wherever Courtney signed, or whether that means that she'll retire is really the question for me. So I think, yeah, if Sloot goes to Seattle and Allie wants to play another year, I think that, you're getting Courtney Vandersloot and Allie Quigley can still play. So you do just like give her the contract that she wants and give her the roster slot wherever you are. But yeah, I mean, signs feel to point towards retirement for me just because she's not playing overseas this year. And that's something that she's done in between every WNBA season for the past couple of years. But yeah, I mean, like Miles points that out, and it's like it would be as weird as it would be to see Courtney Vandersloot in a non-Sky uniform, which is something that we're going to see. It would be even weirder to see Allie Quigley in another uniform at this point. Like, for me, I feel like she had a championship. She had a good run this past year. There's nothing wrong with retiring after that.
I mean,
for your hometown team.
She has to do the 3-point contest one more time, right? Maybe.
I could see her just doing that even if she's not rostered.
Just comes out of
It's the Allie Quigley Invitational, Like, what are you going to do? Say that she can't compete? Contest.
Yeah. Sponsored by Allie Quigley.
And Mountain Dew.
Yeah, forget about Mountain Dew. But like with Courtney Vandersloot, because you kind of mentioned this before we went live, so I want you to get that kind of in here. Yeah. But do you think she still ends up signing with Seattle?
Yeah, what we were saying before and how I feel is kind of like it's what's out there right now is that it was reported that she was coming to Seattle. Those reports were retracted after Sloot's camp reached out to ESPN saying that the decision hadn't been made yet. I would kind of lean towards the decision has been made, but this isn't how they wanted it to come out. But I could be wrong about that, It could have just been bad info. That does happen. But yeah, I would still like put my money on Courtney ending up in Seattle at this point. But I mean, New York is still very much so on the table. We had Stewie publicly saying that she was interested in playing with Sloot as recently as today. And yeah, I mean, I would go to New York if I was Courtney Vandersloot personally. Like I would try to make that happen, and I feel like that's the best way to make a run at another championship. You've proven all you have to prove as an individual player in this league at this point. If you're her, you're undeniably in the top 5 or top 3 conversation for point guards in WNBA history, if not arguably on the number 1 spot. So yeah, I mean, go ring chase. Everyone's doing it. Go ring chase.
I think he's calling you a coward for.
I'm used to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm putting on my blinders. I'm blocking out the haters.
Sorry, I'm the one who brought the comment up. So
no, it's okay. I love it. It feels like there are peanut gallery. Yeah.
But yeah, I think what I was also thinking of when the original news came out that Sloot was going to sign with Seattle, whatever, my first thought was, okay, what is Seattle doing here? Because right now, Stewie's gone, Sue's gone, obviously.
Yeah.
Steph Talbot just signed, I think with the Sparks.
With the Sparks, yeah.
Yeah. So you're kind of looking like, okay, what is your window of contention here? Or what are you trying to do?
Yeah.
Right? You're rebuilding around Jewel. Is that the direction that you're kind of going in? And so when I saw that, I was like, oh, okay. So what are they going to do with Jewel? Like, what's their plans? Because whoever acquires Courtney Vandersloot, I feel like that's making your window a little bit smaller just based on like her age and career and kind of like where she's headed, which is why to me, New York does make a bit of sense because you've already collected all this talent. And it seems to me like they're trying to move to a win now situation with who they're
I would
acquiring.
say so.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
Still little, right? Like, you know, you're
win
not
right
gonna,
now, yeah.
You're not gonna be like middling with someone like Stewie and Jonquel and Sabrina Benige on your team, right? So that to me is like why I thought I was confident that Vandersloot would be going to New York. And so that's why my question around Seattle is like, and you kind of mentioned it too, are they going to trade Jewel? Like, what are they kind of doing?
Yeah,
like, wherever Vandersloot is making her decision, she's also obviously thinking, okay, well, with who can I win a championship in a quicker time?
Yeah, I mean, for me, before the Sloot to Seattle news came out and then was retracted, I was very much so in a like James Wade should be on the phone with the Storm, throwing the house at them for Jewel Lloyd. Although I'm not even sure this guy had the assets as it stands to like make a deal like that happen with what else is out there. I do think if you're Seattle, you entertain it if you don't get Sloot. You know, it's hard. Like right now they have Jewel, Mercedes, and they have, I think Ezzy is restricted and they still just need to announce an extension.
Yeah.
Those are good pieces on a roster. You know, I love Ezzy. I think she has a lot of upside. Jewel obviously is already a top five, probably 3 guard in the league, top 5 guard in the league. And only has more to grow. So like, yeah, I do think you can kind of go either way as a GM with that situation. You can say like, well, they are all like in their mid-20s at this point. Maybe we can get like a little younger and get some draft assets and all that. But the more I talk through it, honestly, the more I think I would stand pat if I was them and try to build around it. The one concern, obviously, is, you know, you just saw your franchise player walk for nothing. You just saw the previous franchise player the same offseason retire for nothing. Jewel has 1 year left on her contract. Where are you going to be in 2024, you know, at this time next year if Jewel walks? So maybe, you know, the answer is kind of see how it works for now, add a couple of pieces, try to make a run at something, try to build, try to convince her that there is a future in Seattle and convince her to extend. But if you get, you know, to the approaching the trade deadline and it feels like it's not working, maybe that's when you blow it up.
Yeah, those are all really fair points. And then I guess to take it back to Chicago a little bit, there's some players that I wanted to kind of hit on, including Azurá Stevens,
Yeah, I
it was
mean,
reported that she's narrowed her decision down to 3 teams: the Sky, the Sparks, and the Lynx. What are your thoughts on that? Because you said she might end up in
yeah.
Minnesota.
Yeah, I mean, like for me, the Fee connection is very strong there. Going back to their Yukon days, they have a really, really strong pitch. The Lynx have sent pretty robust delegation, including Cheryl and Fee, to Turkey in order to like go to Azure's Euro Cup games where she has been bawling out and kind of make the full court press at her. And for me, with that, if from Azure's perspective, I would feel extremely flattered, and I would probably be pretty drawn in towards Minnesota. And the on-court fit is also pretty great. I mean, like I really like her kind of stretching the floor for Fee, kind of doing what Demiris Dantas does for Minnesota when she's healthy and when she's on her A game. Just being someone who can defend in the post and function in the post offensively, grab boards really well, but also like, pop out to the 3-point line, grab a dish, shoot it, hit, make it more often than not, or not more often than not, but at a respectable clip. I like that role for her in Minnesota. And if I'm the Sky, I would feel very threatened by them. And I would make it my top priority to lock that down because Z's really great. And, she kind of got, obviously she ceded minutes to Candace, she ceded minutes to Emma last year. But you're not going to have either of them if you're Chicago next year. And you have this great, modern, flexible post player. And yeah, so if I'm Wade, that is my top priority right now in terms of free agency, is saying like, we still have Ka, we still have Dana, we still have an amazing coaching staff behind this team. Stay here, let's make it work. And yeah, that's a hard decision for Z also. I mean, those are both very appealing situations. If you have James saying, you're going to be one of the faces of this franchise in a team like Chicago that has the pedigree it has right now, that is very tempting as well. But yeah, on the other hand, go ahead. Sorry.
No. You finish your thought.
Yeah, I was saying on the other hand, like there is no, Cheryl Reeve is kind of the definition of championship pedigree of a coach in this league. And the relationship with Fee is just so strong, and their on-court bond really promising.
Yeah, you were talking about kind of like what Chicago would do to get Z to stay, and also kind of looking at the other players too. Rebecca Gardner is also somebody that the Sky should probably be looking to keep as well, because what she brings on the defensive side of the floor, it's kind of hard to replace.
Yeah, no, if they can swing keeping Rebecca as well as Ka, I always want to call them both Ka, which is extremely confusing. But yeah, if they can keep Gardner,
Ka squared.
That would be a major boon for this team. I mean, like, she's definitely capable of playing a starting role in the WNBA. I believe she's still been balling out over in Europe this season. Yeah, I mean, that's someone that is realistic to bring back and should also definitely be a priority. I'm sure that Wade is already on the phone with her. But yeah, I mean, from Gardner's perspective, I see a lot of incentive to resign, just, sticking with the franchise that has given you the opportunity after all this time. But yeah, in terms of some other free agents that are out there, I mean, we know now that Erica Wheeler isn't going back to Atlanta. She announced that over Twitter.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, a couple of hours ago.
And I think we kind of knew that was coming.
Yeah, of course. But yeah, I mean, that's someone that I can see filling some of that backcourt that's missing for the Sky. I know that she's already been linked to the Sky. I forget who that report was from, and I apologize. But I can definitely see that. I can definitely see them making a push at Izzy Harrison. I feel like that would be, if they can bring back Z, that would be a really fun, modern kind of like two power forwards front court. Yeah.
Yeah, Izzy kind of had some cryptic tweets too about starting over, and
Yeah, no,
he's like, "It's never too late to start over." And I was like, oh.
She's out of there. I mean, that's another thing where I feel like we all knew that, but she is not going to be a Dallas Bank next year.
I gotta say, I'm loving all these cryptic tweets from all the players. Like, it's so fantastic to me. Like, trying to like, I mean, even just like Stewie's emojis. Like, that was just genius to me.
Yeah, that was just some Zodiac killer stuff, and I loved it. It was ridiculous, but yeah, I loved leading that up to the like solo Statue of Liberty emoji on Twitter. I mean, it just like
even her announcement was an emoji.
Yeah. Also theatrical, also intentional, and like scripted, but in a good way. You know, not phony, but it's such a stunt. It's so fun.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah. But also, let's shift gears to somebody that I really want to talk about. That's also linked to this guy, Candace Parker, because she's left now. I mean, I don't know. Like before she took the meeting with the Aces, on the show, I had Brady Klopfer come on, and we were kind of talking about her free agency, what she might do, and she was linked to the Sparks, just as much as she was linked to the Sky, because we're like, maybe she goes home. And then all of a sudden, we're blindsided. Candace Parker meets with the Aces and then decides to sign there, which she also announced herself, which I also loved, like I mentioned before. But
such a different self-announcement too. Really
leaves it in the last sentence of a really long Instagram post.
Yeah, exactly. It's like an Instagram post that is almost entirely about her role as, you know, a family person, so, you know, as a wife and as a mother. And then also, by the way, I'm going to Las Vegas.
Yeah, like you're reading that going, oh my God, is this like a retirement post? Like,
what is she about to say? It felt so much like a retirement post. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it was really beautiful. It was really heartfelt. I think it was also perfectly executed in like making sure that no Sky fan could feel like slighted, and no one should. But yeah, like just understanding the role that family played in this decision and the need to be on the West Coast, or toward the West Coast. But yeah, I mean, I think Annie Stabile at the Chicago Sun Times was talking about this. I can't think of another athlete that came to a city for such a short period of time and meant so much in that time. I mean, like, I think of like Kawhi in Toronto, honestly.
I was just gonna say,
but like that, it was.
But even then, it's not really. Yeah, like I feel like
because it was never really his city.
A lot of fans are not really like emotionally connected to Kawhi. It's more just like, you got us the championship.
Yeah, he's this really like mercenary star that like rolled through, like this like you know like gunslinger in the middle of the night who like rescued the town and then was gone as soon as he was known. But Candace obviously, yeah, and then also destroyed the town on his way out. Yeah. But yeah, Candace was obviously so different. I mean, she like gave so much back to the community in her time here, for one thing. But also, yeah, like it was also heartfelt. You know, what it meant for her to be a hometown kid returning to the Sky and finally giving them a championship was so immense. And, you know, like I feel like they like kind of have to retire her jersey. And like that is kind of wild to say for a player that only played 2 seasons with franchise, but she's in that time became one of the most like culturally meaningful players in the franchise's history. You know, I would say that her like lasting impact on the city of Chicago is probably greater than like Elena Deladon's, even though Deladon was there significantly longer, and also did great things on court with the team. It's just, you know, I was talking earlier about how Courtney Vandersloot is the Chicago Sky and has been the Chicago Sky, but for a moment, Candace Parker was the Chicago Sky with very little history.
Yeah, you
Um,
can't you can't understate her like cultural impact. Like to
yeah,
me, that's the biggest thing. I think she was my first like awareness to the WNBA as a league. Like I remember
yeah.
being little and watching this show on Disney. It was called Nikki, Ricky, Dicky, and Dawn. And
You've
when she
mentioned this
was,
to me before.
yeah, I think I said this maybe in the group chat. I can't
You
remember,
did,
but
yeah.
yeah, so I remember being like little watching, and when she was still on the Sparks, obviously,
Yeah, of
she
course.
was a guest on the show as like herself, and I was like, "Who is this? What? There's a women's basketball league? Like this is like nuts! Like I'd never heard of it before." And so I think you've seen that how she just kind of leaves an impact everywhere she goes. Everybody knows the name Candace Parker, like
Yeah,
regardless of whether you're into basketball or not, if you're into the W or not. It's like really so like when she announced that she's going to the Aces, everybody was like, wow, like this is a big deal. Like everyone just
yeah,
kind of understands the impact and the importance that she holds. The fact that she took a pay cut, like that's like the biggest thing. Like let's talk about
yeah.
that for a second.
Obviously, needs to be said that that woman does not need the money.
Yeah.
Like she's got money. But yeah, I love that. I mean, it's very much it's weirdly like fitting. I like to see her like saying like I'm going to set this aside. I'm going to win another championship. I'm going to play some of the most beautiful basketball with these other intelligent, talented players that anyone's ever seen. Um I also just love it in terms of like the torch bearing aspect with her playing with Asia for a year. Um, you know, you kind of like it's amazing that you can now kind of draw that direct like line by relation from Asia to Lisa Leslie. It really kind of like bookends the league's history thus far in a very beautiful way. Just in terms of this like line of succession of dominant post players.
Yeah, it's I mean, to just think about the basketball that we are about to witness in this
On
upcoming
both,
season,
yeah,
like
both in New York and in Las Vegas, like crazy, beautiful basketball. Some amazing passing is going to happen that is going to make us all feel like we're crazy.
yeah, I mean, like we talked about depth on the New York team, but let's take a look at this Aces team because this is kind of nuts. Like the
Yeah,
fact
I
that
mean,
they didn't include so like they did like their big, I guess it was four maybe with Candace, Asia, Chelsea, and I think they included Kelsey Plum on that graphic. And Jackie
and not
Young is
Jackie,
nowhere to be
yeah.
seen. Like what?
Yeah, no, that is first of all insane and insulting, and they shouldn't have done that. But it does really speak to the depth of this team that you can have like a four-player hype graphic and one of your all-stars isn't on it. Um, that like that is so wild. But again, so disrespectful to Jackie. Give
Yeah.
Jackie her props. Come on, give Jackie her love. But yeah, I mean, like it's I would say that is the best starting five in the league going into the year. Maybe if Salute to New York does happen on the off chance that still goes through, then there might be a little bit more of an argument, but it's kind of hard to make an argument when it's, you know, the championship, most of the championship starting five, and then Candace Parker.
Yeah, like that's like that's so nuts to me that you can't even like my brain is about to break just thinking about like if you think to yourself like who's the best player on the Aces? Like can you actually like answer that question?
Asia Wilson, but like who's the second best player on the Aces also is to me a crazier question. Like probably Candace, but
I'm thinking
yeah,
about
no, it's
Chelsea and like oh my god.
yeah. I mean, you have Jackie and Kelsey and Chelsea right there. Um, Also, we got to talk about Alicia Clark
Yes.
because like coming through after the Candace signing and being like, oh, also we got Alicia Clark and she's gonna come off the bench for us is pretty.
Yeah.
It's pretty. It's a hard pill to swallow as like anyone who roots for any other team in this league. Because the depth has always been the issue for the Aces, 100% going back. But even having like one really serviceable two-way player like that as your first player off the bench moves the needle so much.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure they'll continue to fill out. They signed Kayla George today, Australian star of the WNBL. So it'll be fun to see how that goes.
Yeah, to me, it's also because like the Aces, yeah, they won the championship last year, but if we remember, like one of the biggest questions was their starters are playing so many minutes. Like, are we
Yeah.
running them into the ground? And like, of course, that's always a valuable question. Like, what? Like, I know they love to play that many minutes. Like, we saw that from them.
Yeah.
Like I know like
That's
Kelsey many times was like, we want to get out there and like play that long, but that depth is going to help them.
yeah. I mean, I think I always think about that, and I feel like it is by design. And Becky is not trying to. She's not trying to build a bench that is going to make the starting five play that much less. It's really, yeah. It really feels like the concept is she's coming out of coaching in the NBA, and she's trying to kind of game the fact that quarters are shorter.
Yes, that's also
yeah,
true.
like kind of say, I know that these are the best athletes in the world, and I know that they can play 40 minutes a night if I need them to. They're capable of it. Why not? And I think that philosophy is, first of all, extremely chaotic and funny, but also accurate. And as we see, it works.
Yeah, it does work. I'm like hoping that news is gonna drop while we're like on this live stream. I was
Yeah,
hoping earlier that the Stewie news would like wait till we were on the live stream, but that didn't happen. So yeah, I'm hoping this like Sloot news drops soon.
yeah. I thought I saw something, but it was Shams announcing that Stephen Lee let two-way deal with the Suns.
I know. I have like my notifications are on for like a mixture of like W and NBA newsbreakers. So it's like every time I get something, I think it's W related. But yeah, I got that.
So funny when it is just like Waj or Shams talking about like a G League contract.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this we can talk about the Sparks a little bit too, because they re-signed Lexi Brown today as well, which I think is like I really like that move. Like I'm a big fan of Lexi Brown, and Danny's gone. We lost Danny on the stream, guys. Well, I think Danny's gone to join the storm.
Hello?
Hello? Are you there?
Hi.
I was like, where did he go? I was like, he went to join the storm. Okay, just kidding. Haha.
No, I'm signing with New York.
Don't worry, Owen.
Everybody's doing it.
Danny's back. Don't worry. Breaking. Danny to the Sparks. I started talking about Lexi Brown, and Danny's like, "I'll go join her."
Yeah, no, I'm like, actually, that sounds great. Yeah.
I mean, hey, we could use some warmer weather over here, but
honestly, I'm so cold. Anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, talking about Lexi Brown, I'm a really big fan of her. I'm really happy that and I saw that there were a couple of quotes from the presser that just happened like literally an hour ago. How Kurt was kind of saying that she's found her home in LA and she doesn't have to prove herself anymore. I thought that really stuck out to me. That makes me really happy for her because yes, all these transactions, all these signings are really exciting and gets the heart rate going. But it's easy to forget that these players are still humans at the end of the day. They're people and things matter to them. Even with Brittany Sykes too, you could tell how happy she was to sign with Washington. So I think it's all these little things need to be included in these conversations, which reminds me that we also need to talk about Dearica. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. But yeah, just to me, I'm really happy for Lexi. I think she brings a great skills to the table as a shooter. And yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely nice just seeing a young guard find a place in the league where she is embraced, especially for her. I'm sure there was some insecurity with, Kurt coming in. It's a new regime kind of even though a lot of the rest of the front office has stayed in place, like, you know, GM and coach is pretty important. But yeah, it's a nice vote of confidence for her. I'm excited to see how she continues to grow on that roster. I remember when that quote came out, I was so struck by he was also asked about Kennedy, and the responses are like so night and day. Where like, yeah, he was talking about like Lexi has proven herself. Lexi has a home here, versus on Kennedy Carter's fit with the team. She's currently under contract and a talented player. And as the roster plays out, everyone will be able to understand what's long-term for us. So I think, long story short, Kennedy Carter is available. If anybody out there wants to take a flyer on her, I feel like I can think of a few teams that could use some young guard depth. And Kennedy still has upside, obviously. But yeah, that's always the other side of it that makes me sad, is just like watching someone that clearly has promise and has shown things on the court, kind of for whatever reason, whether it is like talent or whether it is more off court and more interpersonal, watching someone that deserves to play not play is not fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, Steph Talbot, I agree with Owen, is a great signing for LA and a huge loss for Seattle, though.
I feel like
honestly, I would
was that
feel
announced
much better
before Stewie announced
it
her?
was, yeah.
Yeah, it was. I think, yeah, that was when I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, stuff is happening.
That I remember thinking for a moment, oh, maybe Stewie's going back and they couldn't afford to pay staff. But then I looked at the cap sheet and I was like, oh, that doesn't make any sense. But yeah, Talbot's great. I'm excited to see what she can do if she gets more touches in that offense. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I guess so our last topic of conversation, unless any news breaks in the last like 13 minutes of the show, but Dearica Hamby, who is now with the Sparks after being traded, and kind of detailing the experience that she had to go through while pregnant with the Aces, who some people in the organization, they had promised to her really when she signed that extension that they were going to take care of her, that everything was going to be fine. She said she was going to be ready to play at the start of the season, but as we saw, things didn't really shake out the way that maybe she had hoped. And, with the topic of Candace Parker announcing that she was moving to Vegas with the focus on family as well, there were some kind of questions about, okay, well, if Dearica Hamby was treated this way, then what makes you think that this won't happen with like other players?
Yeah. Oh, it's so difficult. It's so hard. But yeah, I mean, we absolutely still need answers from the Aces about this. It's really rough timing that it kind of is a shadow hanging over the Candace signing. I'm not sure if I feel like Candace deserves that, honestly, because I've seen a lot of people kind of pointing out hypocrisy in saying that she's playing for Vegas for family reasons with that story out there. But yeah, it makes me feel bad that because the Aces haven't made a public statement, because they haven't really addressed this and taken any responsibility, that the onus kind of gets put onto Candace, who wasn't with the organization when any of this happened, wasn't, responsible for it. It just feels unfair to make another woman answer for it, another mother answer for it, when it has nothing to do with her. That being said, yeah, I mean, I really feel for Dearica. We were talking, we talked so much about, we were just talking about how the interpersonal aspects of all of this is something that's lost in discourse sometimes. Dearica was very close with the rest of that roster too. The Aces have been very publicly a very social team that really is like very, fun and very friendly with each other in general. And it's kind of rough, that they're going on this like really exciting super team run without her. I can imagine how that feels for her. Again, that being said, I like the fit with the Sparks for her. Kurt has gone out of his way to say that providing an atmosphere where De'Erica can prioritize her family is a priority for him. So kudos to him for taking the opportunity to make a statement on that. But yeah, I mean, it really is a shadow hanging over the entire thing. I talked at the beginning of this broadcast about how like fun all of this is for the league and how like exciting a time in the league this is where we have a free agency like this, but it really hangs over the whole thing. And yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, there needs to be an investigation into it, and there needs to be a public comment made by the Aces, and someone needs to be held responsible.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think she also kind of mentioned that in her presser where she was saying, this is not on the players. Like, don't go after the players. Yeah. This is not about them at all. Especially the players that are already like your Chelsea Grays, your Kelsey Plums, like your Asia Wilsons. Like, there's absolutely no reason to go after any of them because that doesn't even make sense to me. Like, why would you do that? It's clearly, some people in the organization that, wasn't handling this properly. And to me, it's sad that it went down that way. Because and I was also thinking about this the other day. I was like, it's so wild to me how players can just be traded and then just like asked to like pick up their entire lives. And it's something that I was always like aware about. But if you actually like sit down and think about it for a second, like apply it to your life where you're like, what if one day I was just told that I need to like move to this other city for my job and I just had to like uproot my life like that? Especially after like, even in this situation, if your boss is telling you, don't worry, like we got you, and then all of a sudden it's just like your life changes in an instant. So it's definitely like, I think we should definitely continue to keep talking about it. Like even with all the excitement of free agency and signings and all that, it's important that like we keep the pressure too, because we're waiting for accountability and responsibility from the Aces, but we got to continue to apply that pressure too, because I feel like that's the way that things get done as well.
Yeah, no, you absolutely can't let something like free agency just sweep that under the rug. That's, not to be grim, but that's what they want, and we can't. It just can't happen. So yeah, I mean, kudos to everyone out there who has been, keeping the pressure on. I just hope that people continue to direct it the right way. Yeah,
and like even if it's like media like asking questions in the opening pressers, especially when the Aces do theirs, like it's going to be who's going to step up and be the first person to ask them about that, and not ask the players, because I don't think asking the players is going to get you anything. But like if you have your head coaches or like people in the organization doing those media pressers, it's important to ask them that. And I hope that like De'Erica Hamby can just get some like peace of mind that this is going to be handled properly, and then she can just like move forward with her life and providing for her family and creating a new life in LA. All right, Dani, any last thoughts? I'm like refreshing my Twitter page to see if we get a salute to New York news.
No one should sign Sophie Cunningham. That's what I want to leave everyone with, is that no team should sign Sophie Cunningham this year.
Not wrong.
Not until we see some public accountability for some retweets and such.
Absolutely. Owen's laughing in the chat. Yeah, they are. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, what more can you say? No, it's like, honestly, like if we're going to talk about accountability,
exactly. This is why I'm thinking of it. Is just like, I mean, like for the Mercury to re-sign her, or for any other team to sign her and not address any of this and not be held accountable for it, is not okay.
Yeah, to me, it's always felt weird. Like just thinking about her teammates, like the organization, just how do you how do you just navigate that? Because
Yeah,
I've
in a
seen
league like this, especially, like, when someone is a bad person in other leagues that aren't staking so much of their public facing identity on progressive politics and on social justice, that's one thing, and it's also bad, but it's another thing. This just feels very bad and not who we are as a WNBA community.
yeah, I definitely agree with you on that. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully, the themes of free agency better be excitement, but also accountability,
Yes,
responsibility,
hell yeah.
and making sure that we're being held to really important standards, whether we're players, front office, media, fans, all of it.
Yeah,
We're all humans and need to interact with each other as such. And I think that's a good way to end off the free agency
that's a
live
great message
show.
to leave with. I love that.
I didn't even plan that. It worked out perfectly.
Yeah.
We end on a strong note. But Danny, you want to promote anything that you have coming up, where people can find you?
Yeah, I'm this season I'm going to be roaming the league a little bit more for Winsidr. Obviously, I'm based in Chicago, so we'll be reporting on the Sky plenty. But yeah, you can find all that at winsidr.com or at Winsidr on Twitter. And you can find me at DBL Fluidity on Twitter. Yeah.
Sounds good. I'm so excited for this upcoming season.
Me
Thank you,
too.
guys. I know it's like I want it to be here already. Preseason game in Toronto. Better see you there. Better see everybody there. Y'all
All
are
of
gonna come
WNBA Twitter packing into Toronto.
to Scotiabank Arena. It's gonna be lit. All right. Well, thanks guys for joining, and we'll see you next week for another episode of Court Time with Crina Mustafa.